Blockchain is by far one of the best industries for developers in 2022. This technology is exploding at a rapid rate, and there's a massive upside potential for people with the right technical skills in this space. So in this video, I want to give you a massive list of tools that are going to help supercharge your blockchain development. So whether you're trying to get a job, build your own Dapp, create a flash loan trading bot, whatever it is, I'm going to show you a massive list of languages, programming tools, libraries, tips, tricks, flash loan providers, auditing tools, and a whole lot more. This is an updated list for 2022, and we're going to go from the basics all the way to pretty advanced. So no matter where you are on your journey, this list is for you. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step-by-step from start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the programming languages that you need to understand, okay? And you don't necessarily have to know all these programming languages, but at least having a couple of them and just being aware of what the other ones do is really important. And again, if some of this is review, we're quickly going to get to more advanced topics throughout this video. So just bear with me or, skip through the timestamps listed down below, okay? So the first programming language that I always recommend people learn is Solidity. This is the primary programming language used for writing Ethereum smart contracts. If you're going to pick one language and one language only to master for blockchain, then Solidity is definitely the one you want to choose. People ask me all the time, should you learn Solidity first or should you learn a bunch of other programming languages before you get into blockchain? My answer is always start with Solidity and learn everything else as you go. So Solidity is a pretty beginner-friendly language. It's a statically typed language. It looks a lot like C++, Python, and JavaScript, okay? It's where the vast majority of all the smart contracts ever written for every blockchain program ever are written in, so that is the reason you need to know it. Okay, so, picking another programming language to complement Solidity is always a good choice. My number one recommendation is JavaScript if you don't know where to start. So, of course, JavaScript is probably the most versatile programming language out there in terms of what you can do with it. In terms of blockchain, you can write tests for it. You can write front-end websites that talk to your blockchain-based application, mobile applications. You can write, tests for your smart contracts. I think I already said that. I mean, scripts, okay? There's lots of things you can do with JavaScript and build bots that talk to smart contracts for trading, all that type of stuff. So my next recommendation definitely is to master JavaScript if you're looking for a second programming language to learn and you don't know what else is what you're going to choose. So another good option is Python. Okay, Python's a great language if you are wanting to focus on scripting and more back-end type of tasks for blockchain. Okay, it's going to be a little limited in terms of creating user interfaces. Okay, that's one of the reasons I recommend JavaScript over Python for beginners who just don't know where to start. Okay, don't really know what they want to do. JavaScript has an edge in that regard. But if you're already a Python developer or you want to develop with Python, and have that particular skill set and, sort of area of expertise, then Python's a great language to have. So another programming language I want to mention here is Rust. All right, so Rust is used for lots of different blockchain tasks in terms of basically writing more low-level processes. It's also used for, Solana smart contracts and some emerging ecosystems like that. Okay, so definitely have Rust on your radar if you don't have it on your radar, but it's not necessarily a have-to-know type of situation. One reason I don't push people towards Rust in general is because Rust is a harder language to learn for beginners. There's a lot more low-level types of tasks that you have to do, whereas Solidity is something that's a lot easier for beginners to get into. I get the question all the time, should I learn Rust as a beginner? And usually my answer is unless you got a really good reason to, I would stick with something like Solidity. All right, so now let's talk about frameworks for developing smart contracts. So the first one I mentioned is Hardhat, which has gained a lot of market share over the past year and a half or so. So Hardhat is a fully fledged, smart contract development framework. You can write Solidity smart contracts inside of it. You can debug inside of it. They got famous for their console logging feature pretty early on. You can do things like, build websites inside of it. It's got plugins. It supports TypeScript. There's lots of nice benefits for using Hardhat out of the box. It's got a forking feature we're going to talk about a little bit later. So definitely check out Hardhat if you haven't already. It's definitely a framework you want to have on your radar. Another one is Truffle. Okay, so Truffle is the trusty, OG in the space in terms of building smart contracts. You can do the same types of things. You can write smart contracts, write tests, write scripts, put them on a blockchain, all from the same project, okay? They developed the Ganache project, which we're going to talk about in a minute. They've got Drizzle. Truffle's another great smart contract development framework to watch out for as well. So Brownie is a unique framework because basically it's Python based. So if you're a Python developer, you want to go down that road, then definitely check out Brownie for that purpose. Another one I want to mention here is Dapp tools. Okay, so this is a command line tool and smart contract library for Ethereum smart contract development. It's a little more Linux-like. Okay, so if you're kind of come from a Unix background or Linux background, and you want to check out something that kind of follows that paradigm, then definitely check out Dapp tools. And then finally, a quick mention of Remix. If you're not familiar with Remix, the trusty online smart contract IDE. So the really nice thing about Remix is you can create smart contracts, put them live on a real-world blockchain directly from your browser. Okay, you don't have to install anything on your computer to just sketch out a smart contract and put it out there. I use Remix all the time, even though I use other smart contract development frameworks on my computer, just because it's a nice, handy tool to have. I mean, I've even deployed production smart contracts out into the real world on the mainnet straight from Remix that count for life. It's a great tool to have in your back pocket as a blockchain developer. All right, so now let's talk about different front-end tools that you need to master blockchain. So first of all, we're going to talk about JavaScript libraries that you need to use for your front-end applications or your scripts or whatever. Okay, so what you have to understand is, JavaScript applications, whether it's a website, whether it's a bot that you create with Node or a script or whatever, they don't talk to blockchains out of the box. Okay, so you need something that connects to a blockchain node that essentially turns your app into a blockchain app. And that's what a library like Ethers.js does. It lets you talk to a blockchain node over JSON RPC, read data from the blockchain from that node, create transactions, all that type of stuff, manage smart contracts, interact with them. That's exactly what Ethers.js does. I got plenty of videos on my channel to show you how to get started with Ethers.js if you want to check those out. Okay. I also have a video comparing that to its main counterpart, which is Web3.js. So Web3.js is a very similar library that just does things a little bit differently. Okay. So Web3.js is another JavaScript API for Ethereum. Talk to an Ethereum node, interact with any EVM-based blockchain, smart contracts, create transactions, read information from the blockchain, read information from smart contracts, turns your application into a blockchain application. All right, so I'm also going to talk about Web3 Python here, or the Python version of Web3, Web3 Py. And that is not technically a front-end framework, but this was the best, or a front-end library, but this is sort of the best place to include that inside the taxonomy here is right next to Web3.js. So anyways, it's basically Web3.js just for Python. Some things are implemented a little bit differently, but it's the same idea. All right, so another thing is a front-end development framework. And this is not really blockchain specific, but I'm going to put it in here because a lot of people who are getting started don't necessarily know where to go. And so React is a great tool for creating user interfaces. And it's one of the most popular frameworks that gets used for creating dApps. Okay, so that's why I want to mention React here as a blockchain tool, even though it's not specifically blockchain, is because people use it all the time to create blockchain-based applications. You can check out any of these tutorials I do on my YouTube homepage. We use almost exclusively React for those. So let's talk about some tools. If you're already, an OG in the space, you understand Web3.js, you understand, all the basics here. Let's talk about some things you might not have used in terms of front end that can really help speed up your development. So one cool library is Dapp that actually combines Ethereum and React. Okay, so it helps you build applications quickly. All right, and so basically you're able to connect to things that you normally do all the time really fast without having to write the same code over and over and over again. So it already integrates things like React, Ethers.js, Web3 React, and also Waffle, all the same thing. It's an opinionated framework, so they kind of have an idea on how you should do things. That saves you time by having to reinvent the wheel every time you solve a problem. Okay, you can see examples of this inside of there. So a very similar type of thing is Create ETH App, another framework for rapidly developing Ethereum applications in React, like this. So you might have heard of Create React App. This is a really similar idea, so definitely check that out. Another popular tool does a very similar thing for building a full stack blockchain application. It's actually a little bit different because it's kind of got some nice bells and whistles all into it. It's Scaffold.eth. All right. So basically this allows you to, quickly prototype an application. It's got a, template UI already inside of it. You can pull in popular smart contracts. If you just want to show something on the page and kind of get your hands dirty with it, that's what this is a great tool for. All right, the last tool I want to mention here on our front end is Wallet Connect. So you might have seen the need to integrate a bunch of different wallets inside your application. Maybe connect your mobile device to the application. And this can be a real pain to manage all that overhead, but that's exactly what Wallet Connect does, okay? So you can integrate Wallet Connect into your applications to quickly connect things like MetaMask, Argent, Trust Wallet, all that type of stuff from your browser. And you might see the popular choice inside your blockchain application to connect wallet, and then you have choice between MetaMask, Wallet Connect. Definitely Wallet Connect is one that I want to add to the list here. All right, so now let's talk about test blockchains. So what purpose do they serve? Well, essentially, you need to create smart contracts on your local computer before you decide to put them on a test network or on a main net, right? And that's exactly what a test blockchain's for. It lets you spin up a fake blockchain on your computer so that you can do things like just, send cryptocurrency around, destroy smart contracts without any real risk, right? So Ganache is one of the most popular test blockchains for doing this. They have a visual version or a graphical user interface version where you just install the app on your computer and open it up on your desktop. Just like this, gives you 100, it gives you 10 accounts for free, all with Ether inside of it. You can copy and paste the mnemonic phrase, the private keys without risk of losing any real money. Okay. So Ganache is a really popular option for that. They also have a command line version. It used to be called Ganache CLI. Now it's just called Ganache. But essentially, you can run Ganache from your terminal just like this, okay? But you can also do things that's really powerful, like you can fork the mainnet, all right? So you can look at the forking option where you can basically get a copy of all the apps that live on top of the real-world blockchain and then use them inside your own test environment. So if you're trying to create a bot that trades between two cryptocurrency exchanges, that's a really popular thing to use it for, okay? You can actually do transactions with real DeFi apps. So Ganache CLI, or Ganache now, forking feature is huge. So another one is Hardhat has a mainnet forking feature as well. So I'm going to include this inside the resources. I know it's technically from the Hardhat, project, which we already talked about, but here's how you fork the mainnet with Hardhat as well to accomplish the exact same thing, get all the apps that are on top of the blockchain. All right, and this link right here is a clue to our next thing we want to talk about, which is Ethereum nodes. So Ethereum nodes, or I say Ethereum, and this can be applied to any EVM compatible chain like Binance Smart Chain, Phantom, or whatever, right? Like Avalanche. There's lots of different chains that implement the Ethereum virtual machine in some form or fashion. But I just mean a blockchain node that talks to smart contracts and Solidity. So you can see this link here to Alchemy. So Alchemy is a node provider. So what is that? Well, basically, if you're going to if you need to talk to a blockchain, you have to talk to a node. You have to connect your project to this, network, which is the blockchain, and you need access to a node to do that. So you can run a node yourself. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. Or you can just connect to somebody else's node. That's exactly what services like Viewer are for. So basically, you can sign up for an account, get a node for free, start using it, and you can make transactions directly to the mainnet. You can use it to fork your project with the mainnet. You can sign up for a more expensive tier to actually pay if you needed like an archive node or a faster node or something like that. Okay. So another popular option with the same set of features is Alchemy. All right, so Alchemy is a great resource, supports a lot of different chains as well. So Alchemy is a popular node provider with different offering, okay? Definitely check out Alchemy. And then also QuickNode is a very similar project that supports a lot of new chains. They're pretty fast to iterate on new versions. So definitely check out QuickNode if you haven't either. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is actually running your own node, okay? So most people don't need to run their own node. They can just connect to somebody else's node. But if you have to, or your project for some reason, or you just want to learn how to do it, then definitely check out Go Ethereum. So this is the Go implementation of the Ethereum client. They have documentation how you can set it up on a computer, actually run an Ethereum node. Now, be forewarned, if you want to create a full node that's going to take up a lot of disk space, a lot of resources. You can run a light client, if you want to just play around with this. But, Geth is one of the most popular options, as you can see from the Ethereum mainnet statistics. An overwhelming majority of clients run on Geth. So another popular one is Open Ethereum, which used to be called Parity. Okay. So Open Ethereum is another client implemented in the Rust programming language. So I talked about Rust earlier in this video. that's an example of using Rust for blockchain development. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of people watching this video are not going to be building Ethereum nodes. So anyways, there you go. There's some nodes to look at. All right, so now let's look at some resources for working with blockchain data. So one thing that the blockchain is notorious for is finding, being able to work with the actual data that exists on chain. So, the blockchain is pretty good at like telling you, basic information, like what the current state of the blockchain is. For example, like what's my current balance in my wallet, or what's, the last 10 transactions on Etherscan. Looking through history individually, or seeing like, a current state, or saying like, hey, at this certain block number or a certain point in time, what was the balance, or what was this, what was that, right? But what's really hard to do is generate insights and look at things in aggregate or over time, okay? And that's exactly what some of these services are for. It's harder to query blockchain information, and so that's where products like the Graph come into play. So the Graph is a GraphQL interface for different applications on top of the blockchain. You can see basically a global GraphQL API with subgraphs. Okay, so subgraphs basically are different endpoints basically that correspond to individual projects. Okay, so you can see projects to support like let's just see. You can look at the Graph Explorer. This will show you all the projects. Like, yeah, here you go. Sushi Swap, Dodo, Curve, all this type of stuff. Different projects you can fetch information about directly from the graph without having to run a node, and you can do more advanced queries than you could just directly with the node itself. So another one kind of similar is called BitQuery. Okay, so this is the GraphQL API. Where you can do a multi-chain. All right, so basically you can actually look at the GraphQL IDE in your browser and start to let's just say here. I'll show you here in a minute. Basically, if you were to log in, you could see different queries here that you can write in your browser that can return things like if you want to find the latest trades on Uniswap, it'll just tell you that information without having to do things like spin up a node, get the ABI for the smart contracts, all that type of stuff, right? Advanced scripts, you could just do it, directly in your browser by knowing the query interface. All right, so now let's talk about some libraries and SDKs. So one of the most popular libraries for blockchain development is definitely OpenZeppelin, okay? So OpenZeppelin is great because they are battle-tested smart contracts that are actually used out there in production. You can see that major applications, major foundations are using them. Okay, so if you want to launch a cryptocurrency or an NFT or like a crowd sale or like whatever, right? They have a bunch of pre-made smart contracts that you can use that are already audited, and you can just customize them for your project, okay? So definitely check out OpenZeppelin if you haven't already. I'm not saying you should go launch a production cryptocurrency without any additional auditing, okay? Because you can always customize it and have vulnerabilities for sure. But anyways, definitely check out OpenZeppelin if you haven't already. Another SDK that I want to talk about is the Uniswap SDK. So Uniswap is definitely one of the most popular applications on top of the blockchain. Uniswap version 2, which you can see at the drop down here, is probably one of those forked applications on the entire blockchain. And so there's lots of different apps that basically use the Uniswap version 2 interface. And so if you understand that with Uniswap SDK, it's going to be really beneficial for you if you're developing applications that talk to any Uniswap-like project, okay? It can be a big bonus if you're trying to get a job that somebody knows that you understand how to use Uniswap interface in the SDK. So another one is the Compound SDK. So Compound Finance is a savings and lending app on top of the Ethereum blockchain. It is also a highly forked application. Okay, that's one of the reasons I'm mentioning it here, is if you basically understand how to work with applications that are used over and over again, then that's going to be a big benefit to you as well. Similarly, Curve Finance is a highly forked application across different EVM compatible chains. Okay, and understanding the interfaces for that will be a big benefit to you as well, and understanding their SDK. So I'm actually going to skip ahead to a resource that I mentioned later in the video. But basically, if you go to something like DeFi Llama and you look at the Forks tab, you can see how many times Uniswap has been forked, 241 times. Compound's been forked 49 times. Right, Curve's been forked a bunch of times. Okay, so anyways, that'll help you understand what's popular and what you can understand, that's going to be high value. All right, so now let's talk about some developer faucets. So what is a faucet? Well, faucet is a place to get free cryptocurrency. I know that sounds amazing, but it's free cryptocurrency on a test network. So, a crucial step in testing your blockchain applications is putting them on a test network. It's a blockchain that runs publicly where the cryptocurrency is not worth anything. So why is it not worth anything? Well, because the chains aren't that secure. People don't decide that the cryptocurrency is worth anything. It doesn't trade on an open market, and therefore it's not worth anything. So anyways, you need to get cryptocurrency in order to pay gas fees on these networks, and that's what a faucet's for. Basically, you just enter in your ETH address. You say send me ETH. Okay. You get a variety of networks, right? And you can just say send me ETH, and it'll send it to you. So Alchemy Faucet, the Rinkeby Faucet is a great one. I also really like the Chainlink Faucet. Okay, so the Chainlink Faucet, where you can request link tokens. You can also request ETH tokens or ETH cryptocurrency on a variety of test networks as well. A lot of these faucets have been forked. So if you want to go look at, Polygon, you want to get some free crypto on Polygon for testing purposes. Again, on the test network, not the main net. You can look at their Mumbai test net. They've got a faucet for that. Same thing for Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche. I mean, all these places have, faucets, but these are good examples of ones that I personally like. All right, so speaking of Chainlink, let's look at our next category, which are oracles, okay? So what are oracles? So oracles are a way of getting real-world information on the actual blockchain itself. So, one thing you have to understand is blockchains don't know anything about real-world information. All they know about is the information that's contained in the blockchain, like who owns how much cryptocurrency, who's used certain smart contracts, all that type of stuff. But it doesn't know things about like cryptocurrency prices, for example, or the weather, or, stock market data. So how does he get that information? Well, that's what Oracle's for. So it provides real-world data to the blockchain, and Chainlink is by far one of those popular solutions for doing that. So you definitely check out Chainlink. Another project by Chainlink, I'm going to make this a different resource. Kind of call it Oracle. It's a little bit different, but I'm just going to put in this category because I don't have a better place to organize it, which is Chainlink Keepers. Okay. So it's a pretty cool project because what it does is it lets you schedule things on the blockchain, something you really can't do very well natively on the blockchain. You can kind of do some things where you look at, block times and then, calculate, things based on that after a certain timestamp has passed, but it's pretty limited. So like if you want to get paid on a schedule, like if you want something to dispense you ERC20 tokens, for your paycheck every single month, like you'd have a hard time doing that on the blockchain. That's what Chainlink Keepers does. It lets you schedule tasks with their software. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. All right, so now let's look at some tools for monitoring your applications and actually looking at data on the blockchain and transactions and like digging deeper into them. So the first resource I want to mention is Blocksy. So Blocksy is a pretty cool application. You should go to blocksy.info and you can enter in any like token symbol, keyword address, transaction hash, and then just see what's happening behind the scenes. So like I'll show you an example. Like if you put in a transaction hash, like let's say you saw a transaction on Etherscan, right? Like this, I literally just pulled up a random transaction. This is a swap, okay, on Uniswap version 2. And you can see like it's got basic information, like here's a token transfers. But if you put it in Blocksy, then you can see all the unique function calls inside the smart contracts below the hood. Okay, so let me just find it. So if I search it in Blocksy, this is what it looks like. So it shows you more information. So here's the swap exact tokens for tokens. All right, here's the actual arguments that went inside that function. And then like here's the functions that were called inside that function. So transfer from, balance of. These are all the instructions that happened at the EVM level and human readable function names. Okay, so that's pretty cool. You can see all the events that were emitted. Very, very critical tool for trying to understand how transactions work. Yeah, totally. So another one is Tenderly. So Tenderly is kind of a similar type of situation, but you can also use it to set up and monitor your smart contracts. So if you want to basically, have production smart contracts, you can have things like real-time alerting, analytics for your smart contracts. It's a great thing for, just monitoring what happened with your transaction, trying to debug something in production. Definitely recommend checking out Tenderly. All right, so now let's talk about hosting providers. So one provider that I particularly like that's not necessarily for blockchain, but it's got a pretty good overlap with blockchain is Fleek. Okay, so Fleek is a way to connect your GitHub account to its own hosting service, and you can just click a couple buttons, and then once you've deployed your GitHub project, you can instantly port it over to Fleek and put it out there live on the web. And the cool thing is Fleek will let you have an IPFS deployment. All right. So you can, basically if you deploy to Fleek, you automatically get IPFS out of the box. Okay. And it's pretty cool. So if you're building a front end application, that's the way to do it, in my opinion, especially if you're just trying to get something out there fast. Okay. So, another service provider that I want to talk about is Pinata Cloud. So, Fleek's great if you want to put, your website on IPFS or just, a regular web server. Okay, but let's say you want to just throw some files on IPFS without a bunch of headache and setup. Let's say you want to put some NFT images out on IPFS, then Pinata Cloud's great for that. You can just sign up for Pinata Cloud, drag and drop a folder or some individual files, and then boom, they're on IPFS and you get the hash back with all your metadata, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so let's talk about auditing tools. So what is auditing? Well, auditing is basically checking smart contracts for vulnerabilities. Okay, and auditing, is a step that is critical for smart contracts that go out in the wild because you want to make sure they're secure because, you really can't change individual smart contracts once they go live on the blockchain itself. Okay, so you can check out Mythex. All right, so this is a cloud-based service for auditing smart contracts. All right, or you can look at, Mithril, which is also by consensus, both these products are, to have something that you can do with more developer tools. Okay, so you can see how to set it up here with Docker. You can see, in the documentation on how to use it that way. All right, so now let's talk about flash loan providers. So in case you're not familiar with what a flash loan is, the way you can borrow millions of dollars of cryptocurrency for free, basically, with zero money down, as long as you pay it back in the same transaction. You can do it for things like arbitrage trading, DeFi strategies, you claim an NFT airdrops, all that type of stuff. Okay, so basically, there are several flash loan providers out there. I'll mention a few here. So Aave is a popular one if you're using Ethereum. Okay, Aave's got a significant fee, I would say, associated with it. You can check out providers that have lower fees, like DYDX, for example, DYDX version 2. DYDX is a derivatives trading platform. The V2 on the Ethereum mainnet has a very, very low fee, okay? You also got Dodo, which has got zero fees. And Dodo's a little more complicated to use, in my opinion, but it supports multi-chain out of the box as well. Okay, so you can do Dodo flash loans on many different exchanges, any exchange that basically Dodo supports, many chains that Dodo supports. It's like Ethereum, Binance. It's like all the major EVM chains, Dodo's on there. So that's a huge benefit there. All right, so let's talk about wallets. So, wallets are important for a couple reasons. One, you need a way to store your cryptocurrency. And so wallets are vital for that, storing cryptocurrency, storing NFTs, all right? To be able to sign transactions, but also wallets are critical for using any Web 3.0 product, right? Being able to turn your web browser into a blockchain browser, because most web browsers are not supporting connection to the blockchain out of the box. And the most popular option for that by far is MetaMask. You can see that little, extension up here in Chrome. That's the gold standard for Web 3.0 wallets. Okay. So, MetaMask also has a mobile wallet, which is, I want to make a mention of here as well. Okay. So another option is Coinbase Wallet. Okay. So Coinbase Wallet, is started off, in my understanding of it, as a mobile wallet, but now they're into, the browser wallet world. Okay. So if I check out Coinbase as an alternative to MetaMask. All right. So Argent is another mobile wallet that's pretty cool. It's got a great onboarding system for new users. They can trade directly into the application. They can also use layer 2s. You can see their demo of ZK Sync here. So I'm pretty excited about what Argent's doing as well. All right. And then I'll also mention Phantom, which is a popular popular wallet that supports primarily Solana. So if you're trying to do activity on the Solana blockchain, then definitely Phantom is a good one for that. All right, so now let's talk about some websites and utilities that I use all the time. So one is the Ethereum unit converter. So you can see eth-converter.com. So, if you've ever tried to work with smart contracts before, then you know that like you have to convert ether to way all the time. That's because smart contracts don't, convert. They don't store decimal places. They don't store floating point numbers or floats. So they store everything in whole numbers. So basically, if you're ever working with cryptocurrency like ERC20 tokens or Ether, they have 18 zeros after the decimal place. You're always having to like convert that number and go from Ether to Wei. Okay, so like let's say if you want to see like what one Ether is in terms of Wei, that's how much it is. Or if you want to see what it is in terms of Gwei, which is the most common unit for pricing gas fees, all right, you might see that in your browser. You might see that in your wallet all the time. Like, hey, this cost 50 Gwei, or the current gas price on the mainnet's 100 Gwei. Well, that's how much Ether it is. Like if you would say, oh, it's 100 Gwei, then the current gas price is this much Ether, and then you just multiply that by the number of units of gas, the transaction cost, and that's the transaction fee. So this is a super critical tool for doing that math. All right, so the next one I want to talk about is the gas tracker for Etherscan. All right, I'm actually going to keep this as a separate utility. I'm going to talk about Etherscan here in a minute, but this is probably one of the best utilities for seeing what the current gas price is, and then seeing like, some estimates on what does it cost to sell an NFT in OpenSea, what's it cost to do a Uniswap trade, a USDT transfer, low, high, average. You can see some of the top gas consumers and what's happening there. Okay, so definitely a strong utility. So another website I'm talking about is Ultrasound Money. Okay, so this is a really cool website to see how much Ether is currently getting burned on the blockchain itself. Okay, so Ethereum is now burning Ether. New transactions are created. You can see what the offset is here. You can see how much ETH's getting burned every single block. Okay, anytime we have ETH getting burned more than 2 ETH per block, that's a deflationary block. Once the merge happens, you can simulate that, and you can see that ETH would be deflationary by 0.8%, based on the current network utilization, which I expect it to at least stay the same, if not increase after the merge happens. So definitely a cool website to check out. So another one, I kind of skipped ahead here, but Etherscan is a vital resource. I know this might be kind of a basic recommendation, but if you're brand new, then you don't know about Etherscan, you definitely want to know about Etherscan. You can search anything that's ever happened on the Ethereum blockchain ever. I can make this kind of a bigger topic, which is basically, looking at block scan. So let's just look at an address. If you just click on this, you can see it goes to blockscan.com, which is now Etherscan's kind of parent, I would say. And you can see all the block explorers that have been, copied to other networks. So basically Etherscan implemented for Binance Smart Chain, Etherscan implemented for, Polygon. Okay. All that type of stuff. You can see what tokens they have on there. Kovan. So Blockscan is definitely one you want to check out. It's pretty cool. You can see what they're the same wallets doing on other networks. So sometimes I can give you clues on what to look for on the blockchain as well. So a couple of the websites, DeFiPulse.com is a great, tool for monitoring what's happening in the DeFi space on top of the Ethereum platform. You can see all the applications, their TVL. You can click through to each application and find more granular details about them. Okay, you can see if you want to know ecosystem links, like, hey, where do you find it about this, that, the other? Okay. Another one that's pretty valuable is DeFi Llama. All right. And so I referenced this early in the video, but I'll come back to it. You can see what's happening across different applications across different chains. You can see actually statistics about different chains in terms of their market share from TVL perspective. Okay. Give you an idea about that. You can see it, historically over time. Okay. Another thing that is pretty cool for this, you can filter by EVM, non-EVM. You can look at roll-ups, layer 2s, all that type of stuff. You can also see things like forks, which I mentioned earlier, which is how many times the application has been forked. This can give you some clues on different interfaces that all work the same way. And there's so much you could look at on this. Definitely a cool website to check out. So that was L2Beat.com. All right, so L2Beat is basically an overview of the Ethereum Layer 2 ecosystem, where basically you can track what's happening on like Arbitrum, Optimism, ZK Sync, any of the layer 2s that are up and coming. You can look at their TVL. You can look at how many people are using it. In terms of transactions, you can see the different changes, the market share, all that stuff. Definitely a great website to keep up on the L2 space. All right, so that's an overview of a massive list of blockchain resources that are going to be critical for you to understand if you're trying to become a blockchain developer in 2022, or if you're already a blockchain developer and you're looking for just like new things that can help you a lot while you're building applications. And you definitely want to check out this list. Go check out everything that I talked about in this video. So that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so that more people can learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You can get my YouTube homepage. You can find those free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can help you become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.